You ever sit at a table where everyone laughs except you? Where your own child looks past you like you're the waitress, not the mother who raised him? Yeah, that was me this past Mother's Day. Before I share what happened and how I decided to change everything they thought they knew about me, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family. You're not alone, and neither was I, eventually. My name is Rachel Miles. I'm a middle school guidance counselor in Knoxville, Tennessee, born and raised right here in East Tennessee, where everyone seems to know everyone, especially when you've made a mistake. I never imagined I'd be a single mom. I never imagined my own son would one day call another woman mom, especially not in front of me on the one day that was supposed to be for me. But before I tell you what happened that Mother's Day, let me tell you how I got here, because my story didn't start with betrayal. It started with hope. I married my high school sweetheart, Derek, when I was just 22. I was naive, but madly in love. He had that smooth Southern charm, wore his baseball cap backward, and always had dirt under his fingernails from working on trucks in his dad's shop. I loved that about him. He felt real. He said all the right things, made me feel like I mattered. And when I got pregnant with Evan, our son, 2 years into the marriage, I thought, this is it. This is my happy ending. But happy endings don't come when you're married to a man who needs constant admiration and doesn't mind finding it outside his own home. The first time I caught Derek cheating, Evan was barely 3 years old. I remember the night like it was etched into my skin. I'd stayed up late grading essays from my 7th graders while Evan snored softly in his Lightning McQueen pajamas. Derek said he had a late meeting, but I saw the text light up his phone from someone saved as Shane from work. Only Shane had heart emojis. I didn't leave right then. I should have. But I was tired. I was broke. I was a new mom trying to survive on a public school paycheck. So I stayed. And that became the pattern. He cheated. I cried. He apologized. I forgave. Until I didn't. Flash forward to the divorce. By the time Evan turned 9, I was done. Done with the lies, the lipstick stains, the vague perfume wafting off his clothes that wasn't mine. I filed for divorce after I found a bra under the passenger seat of his truck. I wish I could say the judge saw my pain and handed me everything, but this is Tennessee, and Derek had his daddy's money. His family had pull. All I had were tear-stained lesson plans and a worn-out car with no AC. Joint custody. Every other weekend. Holidays split. The only thing that kept me breathing through that was Evan. His wide brown eyes, the way he used to grab my hand in Walmart and say, "Mom, you're the bestest." He was my anchor. Until he started slipping away, inch by inch, like sand through my fingers. Then enter her, the stepmom. Her name's Brittany. She was 26 when Derek brought her into Evan's life. Blonde extensions, fake nails, and an Instagram bio that said, #boymom, dog mama, Jesus first. I wanted to hate her on principle, but at first, she was nice. Sickeningly nice. She'd send me updates from the park, pictures of Evan at the zoo, even ask for snack preferences. I thought maybe this wouldn't be so bad until the little things started changing. Evan started calling me Rachel by mistake. Once. He laughed it off. Then he stopped bringing back the drawings we used to do together on our weekends. Then he stopped wanting to come over at all. One Saturday in March, 2 months before Mother's Day, I picked Evan up from Derek's place. He climbed into my Honda without saying much, just plugged in his headphones and looked out the window. I asked if he was okay. He shrugged. I'm fine. We stopped at Sonic for milkshakes, a tradition we'd had since he was 6. He didn't touch his. Evan, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, did I do something wrong? No, he mumbled. I just like it better at Dad's house. The words sliced through me like a paper cut to the soul. Small, but deep. I didn't cry. Not in front of him. But that night, when I closed the door to my tiny apartment, I sat on the floor of the laundry room and sobbed into a pile of unfolded clothes. And then came Mother's Day. I had plans. I was hopeful. I had banana pancakes from scratch, his favorite. Bought him a new baseball glove I'd saved for weeks to afford. I even baked a heart-shaped chocolate cake because he once told me, "You make better desserts than anyone, Mom." I waited. He never showed. I called Derek. He didn't pick up. By 1:30 p.m., I drove to Derek's house. Yes, uninvited. I know how that sounds, but I had to see Evan. When I pulled into the driveway, I could already hear laughter coming from the backyard. I stepped out of my car, heels clicking on the concrete, cake box trembling in my hands. I walked around back, and there they were. Derek, Brittany, Evan. There was a banner that said, "Happy Mother's Day, Brittany," strung between 2 oak trees. A Publix cake sat on the table. Evan was handing her a gift bag with gold tissue paper sticking out. "I picked it out myself," he said, voice high with excitement. "Open it, Mom." That word, that one word. Mom. He said it to her. I felt like the ground under me cracked. My ears rang, my vision blurred, but I stood still. Brittany hugged him tight. "I love you so much, baby." And he smiled at her in a way he hadn't smiled at me in months. Then Derek saw me. His smile dropped. "Rachel, what are you doing here?" I looked at Evan. He looked back, confused. Not ashamed, just surprised. I tried to speak. I really did, but my throat locked up. Instead, I just placed the cake on the porch table and walked away. I got in my car, pulled the door shut, and sat there for 10 full minutes before driving off. The worst part wasn't that he forgot. It wasn't even that he called her Mom. It was that it didn't seem to bother him at all. That night, I stared at the wall in my bedroom till dawn. And when the sun came up over the Tennessee hills, I made a decision. If they wanted to erase me from the picture, fine. But I was going to make damn sure they'd never forget the frame. The morning after Mother's Day, I sat at my tiny kitchen table, staring at the remains of the banana pancakes I'd knead, cold, untouched, a syrup-sticky reminder of everything I'd lost. I didn't eat. I didn't shower. I just sat there for hours. My phone buzzed once. A text from my coworker. "Hope you had a lovely Mother's Day. You deserve it." I turned it face down and swallowed the bitter taste rising in my throat. Lovely? I hadn't even gotten a text from Evan. That was the day I stopped pretending. Stopped pretending that joint custody meant equal love. Stopped pretending that Brittany was just a phase. And most of all, stopped pretending that I didn't care. Because I did. I cared more than I wanted to admit. But I also knew this. No one was coming to rescue me. Not the courts, not my family, not even Evan. I had to become the kind of woman who couldn't be erased so easily. The first quiet step. It started with small things. Things no one would notice. I restructured my work schedule so I could finish early on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the days Evan was supposed to be with me, but often bailed last minute. Instead of sulking, I started going to the gym, a small 24-hour place tucked behind a Firehouse Subs on Kingston Pike. I didn't know what I was doing at first. I walked on the treadmill and cried during slow songs, but the motion felt better than the silence. I lost 12 pounds in 3 months. No one noticed. Not yet. But I did. Then, one afternoon, in the school counselor break room, my coworker Jamie, who's got more sarcasm than filter, looked at me and said, "Okay, so who are you trying to become, Ms. Miles? You're glowing, but also look like you're plotting murder." I snorted. "Can't I just be trying to better myself?" She sipped her Diet Coke and raised an eyebrow. "Sure, but improvement always follows pain. So, who hurt you?" I almost told her. Almost spilled it all right there between stale vending machine pretzels and laminated SEL posters. But I just said, Mother's Day was rough. Janie nodded, like she knew exactly what that meant. Then she reached into her tote bag, pulled out a little notebook, and handed it to me. "Write it out. Not for them, for you." That notebook became my confession booth. I wrote things I was too ashamed to say out loud. I feel like a ghost in my own life. I hate that Brittany gets to be the fun parent. I don't even recognize Evan anymore, but maybe he doesn't recognize me either. And I want them to feel what I felt, not out of cruelty, just clarity. The more I wrote, the clearer it became. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted to reclaim my narrative. By August, school was back in session, and Evan was starting his freshman year of high school. I offered to take him school shopping, just the two of us, like we used to. He texted back, "Brittany already took me, got everything. Thanks, though." Thanks, though? Like I was an afterthought. That night, I scrolled through Brittany's Instagram. She'd posted a picture of Evan holding up a pair of Nike Dunks, captioned, "My sweet boy all grown up, #boymom, #blessed." I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred, and then I made a decision. If they wanted to act like I didn't exist, I'd become someone they couldn't ignore. First, I sold my car. That beat-up Honda, gone. I used my tax refund and a little savings to get a certified pre-owned Toyota RAV4. Clean, black, reliable. Then I updated my wardrobe. Nothing flashy, just fitted, intentional. I traded my faded cardigans and flats for ankle boots, tailored jeans, and a leather tote that made me feel like I mattered. And then I did something bold. I signed up for a part-time graduate program, online, nights and weekends, to pursue educational leadership. Because if I wasn't going to be invited to the table anymore, I'd build my own damn table and get promoted to principal. Derek noticed, but too late. One Friday, during a custody drop-off, Derek stood in my driveway, arms crossed, looking mildly confused. "New car?" he asked. "Yep," I said, locking it with a chirp. He smirked. "Well, look at you, all grown up." I smiled politely. "Took me a while, but I got there." He glanced at Evan in the backseat, who was too busy on his phone to even say hello. "Hey," he added, voice dropping slightly. "I know it's been weird, but
"You look good, Rachel." I met his gaze dead on. "And you still lie like a bad salesman." He laughed awkwardly. "Touché." Then he left. Brittany slipped up. The cracks started to show that Thanksgiving. Evan came over, late, but he came. He was quieter than usual, pushing his turkey around his plate. "Everything okay?" I asked. He shrugged. "Brittany and Dad were fighting this morning." I didn't press. But later that night, after he fell asleep on the couch watching football, his phone buzzed. I didn't read it, I swear. But the name that popped up said, "Mom Brittany." Message: "Don't tell her anything. It's not her business." My hands shook. So they were hiding something. A spark of curiosity. The next day, I went to my cousin Mariah, who works as a paralegal downtown. She's the kind of woman who doesn't ask why, just, "How far are we going?" I told her, "I'm not trying to take Evan away. I just want to know what's really happening in that house." She raised an eyebrow. "You want dirt on them?" I hesitated. "I want truth, and maybe, just maybe, the chance to show Evan who I really am." She nodded slowly. "Then we start with records. Financial, property, school, and maybe social." I hadn't felt this alive in years. A week later, Mariah called. I pulled some background on Brittany. Nothing criminal, but "Rachel, you're not going to like this." "What?" "She lied about her degree. She's not a nurse like she says on Instagram. She never finished community college." My stomach turned. "That's not all," Mariah added. "Looks like she had a restraining order a few years ago, domestic dispute, filed against her by a former roommate." My pulse quickened. "And you're telling me Derek knows?" "I don't think so. Not unless he went digging, which he probably didn't. Most people don't." I hung up the phone and stared out the window. Brittany, sweet, perfect Brittany, with the curls and the hashtags and the hand-picked Mother's Day gifts. She wasn't who she said she was. And maybe, just maybe, this was my opening. They stole my motherhood, but I was about to take back the narrative. One truth at a time.
They thought I would disappear. They thought Mom was just a name you could hand to someone else like a party favor. But I had one thing they didn't: the truth. And I was going to use it. I used to think revenge was loud, that it meant screaming matches and slashed tires. But real revenge, earned revenge, it's quiet, patient, like rain soaking the roots before the tree ever falls. So I stopped reacting, stopped chasing Evan's affection, stopped trying to win Derek's cooperation or decode Brittany's fake kindness. Instead, I started collecting tools. Truth was the first one. Leverage would be the second. After what Mariah told me about Brittany's past, the fake degree, the restraining order, I couldn't unhear it. I didn't plan on blasting it all over Facebook or running to Derek with a stack of court documents. No. I knew the real damage would come from showing, not telling. Letting people see the cracks for themselves. I just had to guide their eyes carefully. Evan was already on edge. That Thanksgiving visit had shown me something. He wasn't as locked into Brittany's world as she wanted him to be. He was watching them now. All I had to do was widen the lens. So I shifted tactics. Instead of guilt-tripping him for not calling, I sent short, casual texts. "Saw your team won. Proud of you. Made your favorite chili tonight. Left some in the freezer if you want it next weekend." No expectations, just quiet reminders. I'm still here. I still know you.
The next time he came over, I didn't press him to talk. We watched Stranger Things and ordered wings from Craven's Barbecue, the place we used to go when he was little. Halfway through the episode, he said, "Brittany doesn't let us eat wings inside the house, says the grease gets in the curtains." I laughed. That tracks. He cracked a smile. "You're lucky. You don't have to deal with her 24/7. I didn't push it, but I filed it away. Next, I started unraveling Brittany's social media image. I never commented, never liked a single post, but I watched. She was building a brand. #BoyMomLife, #NurseVibes, #Blessed Beyond Measure. And it was working. People bought it, especially Derek. But now I knew it was all smoke and mirrors, and I was going to set a match to it. In late January, the PTA at Evan's school posted a call for volunteers for Career Day. Now, most divorced moms would skip that, but I saw a door. I signed up and I made sure to wear my sharpest blazer, bring handouts on emotional wellness, and show up with a warm smile and no bitterness. I talked about counseling, how kids could deal with pressure, and even threw in a little self-esteem work. Half the kids in the room asked for extra copies of my 5 Ways to Stay Mentally Strong guide. But the best moment? Evan walked in late, saw me at the front of the room, and smiled. Not out of obligation. It looked proud. Afterwards, he walked up, trying to be casual. "Didn't know you were going to be here. I thought I'd surprise you." He shrugged. "Kinda cool, I guess. Everyone was talking about your worksheet. Tyler said his mom wants a copy." I laughed. "Tell Tyler she can email me." He nodded, then hesitated. And right there in the middle of the school library, he said, "You looked like confident up there. I don't know, different." "Is that a good different?" I asked. He gave a half shrug. "Yeah, it's cool." That night, I posted one picture from Career Day. Just one. Me at the podium, mid-sentence, captioned, "Helping young people find their voice has always been my favorite part of the job." #mental health matters, #middle school counselor, #proud of my son. I didn't tag Evan, didn't mention Derek or Brittany, but I knew Brittany would see it. And sure enough, within an hour, she posted a photo of her in scrubs, with the caption, "Another 12-hour shift saving lives." But someone in the comments, a friend from town, replied, "Wait, I thought you were working from home now." No reply. No likes. Just silence. The cracks had begun. I still wasn't ready to confront Derek, but I needed to know what he did know about Brittany. So I invited him for coffee. Neutral ground. Maple Leaf Cafe, our old hangout when Evan was still in elementary. He looked skeptical when he showed up, like he thought I was going to beg for something. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "Just want to talk, for Evan's sake." He nodded and sat down. We talked about school, sports, schedules. Then I leaned in. "Can I ask you something off the record?" He raised an eyebrow. "Off the record?" "Just yes or no." He looked away. "She told me she dropped out a semester before finishing her associates." "Why?" I just nodded. "That's what she told me too." He leaned back, arms crossed. "Why are you asking this, Rachel?" I stared at him. "Because Evan deserves to grow up around people who don't lie about who they are. That includes me, that includes you, and that includes the woman he's calling mom now." Derek didn't respond. Didn't have to. The guilt was already blooming on his face. 3 weeks later, Evan came over for dinner. He seemed tense, distracted. I asked what was up. "Brittany's been acting weird," he said finally. "Like paranoid, snapping at Dad, saying people are watching her." I kept my expression neutral. "Watching her how?" "I don't know. She said someone was trying to ruin her reputation, but no one even said anything. She's been deleting old photos from her IG, even changed her job title." "What does it say now?" "Just says health advocate, whatever that means." I fought the urge to smile. Then he added, I found a bunch of emails she left open last week. She was looking at legal sites, stuff about slander loss. And just like that, I knew. She was scared. Not because I exposed her publicly, but because I hadn't. Because the silence made her paranoid. The final tool came from someone unexpected. Mariah, again. She called one night after dinner. "Got something," she said. "There's a financial inconsistency. Not criminal yet, but enough to raise questions." "What kind of inconsistency?" "Brittany's been claiming to run a freelance health consulting business for tax write-offs, but none of the licenses match her name. If the IRS cared enough to audit, she's toast." I sat with that for a moment. I didn't want to destroy her. I just wanted Evan to see that I wasn't the bitter ex. I was the one telling the truth all along. So I asked Mariah, "Can that kind of thing go on record?" It could, but sometimes a whisper is more powerful than a scream. A week later, I got a call from Evan's school. His guidance counselor, Mr. Rayner, a good man, wanted to meet in person. I assumed it was about grades or attendance, but when I sat down across from him, he looked uncomfortable. He started, "I probably shouldn't be saying this, but Evan's been having a hard time," said something that concerned me. "What did he say?" "He said he's not sure who to trust at home anymore, that everyone's pretending, and he feels like he's the only one seeing behind the curtain." My heart fetid. Then Mr. Rayner added, "He asked if you'd ever lied to him. I told him I couldn't speak for your family, but maybe he's ready for some truth from you." I swallowed hard. The moment I had been waiting for had arrived. But was I ready?
He used to look at me like I was the center of his world. Now he looked at me like I was background noise. But something was shifting. He wasn't calling me mom again, yet. But for the first time in years, he was listening. After the meeting with Mr. Rayner, I sat in my car in the school parking lot for a long time. It was cold, the kind of East Tennessee chill that bites through your coat and lingers in your bones. But I couldn't feel any of it. All I could hear was Rayner's voice echoing in my head. He asked if you'd ever lied to him. Had I? Maybe not outright, but I'd kept things from him. To protect him, yes. To avoid turning him against Derek. To spare him the ugliness of the truth. But maybe in doing that, I'd let someone else write my story for him. The dinner invitation. That same night, I texted Evan, "Hey, bud, you up for dinner at my place Friday night? Just us, no pressure. Just miss you." He took 2 hours to respond. Evan, "Yeah, sure." Just 2 words, but they felt like a door creaking open. Setting the stage. I cleaned the apartment like the Queen of England was coming. I made Evan's favorite, baked ziti, garlic bread, and homemade brownies. Not the box kind. The real deal, gooey in the middle, crisp on the edges. I lit a candle in the living room, set the table with cloth napkins and real glasses, not the plastic ones we usually used. This wasn't just dinner. This was a reckoning. He arrived. He showed up around 6:10, hoodie pulled low over his head, earbuds hanging around his neck, face blank. But he didn't look angry, just guarded. "Smells good," he mumbled as he kicked his shoes off. "Made your favorite," I said, wiping my hands on a towel. He gave a small nod. His eyes drifted toward the kitchen. We sat, ate, talked about neutral things. Football, midterms, some kid named Diego getting suspended for vaping in the locker room. But I could feel it, this tight tension hanging between us like a wire. Finally, I said, "Evan, I wanted tonight because there's some stuff I haven't said, and I think maybe it's time." He froze, fork halfway to his mouth. I took a breath. Not the counselor voice, not the patient mother voice, just mine. "When your dad and I divorced, I thought the best thing I could do was stay calm, stay civil, keep your life as peaceful as possible. He didn't respond, just blinked. I didn't want you to feel caught in the middle, so I didn't say anything when you started pulling away, or when Brittany started stepping into roles that weren't hers to begin with. Still no response. But I think maybe that backfired. I let you believe things that weren't true. I let someone else decide who I was in your life. He looked down at his plate. I didn't stop being your mom just because the schedule said you were somewhere else half the time. I didn't stop loving you just because you stopped seeing it. His voice was soft when he finally spoke. I didn't mean to stop. I swallowed hard. I know. That's why I'm telling you this now. He pushed a piece of ziti around his plate. She makes it sound like you gave up, like you stopped trying, like you didn't want to be involved anymore. I nodded slowly. That's easier to believe than the truth. What's the truth? I met his eyes. That I was exhausted. That the court gave me half a son and expected me to pretend that was enough. That every time you chose to stay longer at Dad's, I didn't fight because I didn't want to make you feel like a chess piece. His throat moved as he swallowed. I added, you never were supposed to choose between us. But I think maybe you felt like you had to. He looked down. I didn't know what was real. That's not your fault, I said quickly. You were a kid. You still are. It's not your job to figure out grown-up games. But I feel like I messed up, he whispered. I reached across the table, placed my hand gently on his. No, baby. You didn't mess up. They did. And then he said it. Did you know Brittany lied about being a nurse? My breath caught. Yes, I said. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wasn't sure if that would help you or just make things messier. His brows drew together. She told me she worked at the hospital downtown, even took me there once, introduced me to people like she belonged. She doesn't. He sat back, the pieces clicking together in his head. She's been weird lately, paranoid. She even changed her social handles. I asked her about it and she got mad. What did your dad say? He said to leave it alone, that Brittany was going through something. He snorted. Yeah, like guilt. I stayed quiet. Then Evan leaned in, eyes intense. Why did you wait so long to say anything? I hesitated, then said, because I wasn't sure you were ready to hear it. He didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, I think I want to come over more, not just weekends. Something lodged in my throat. I'd love that, I whispered. The shift became real. After that night, things changed. Not dramatically, not like in the movies, but slowly. Texts started coming more often. Random pictures of his lunch. A meme about cats. A TikTok about awkward moms. This is totally you. We laughed again. Laughed like we used to. And on a random Tuesday in March, he came over after school just to hang out. No schedule, no court order, just because he wanted to. I made tacos. We played NBA 2K. At one point, he looked up and said, You're still the realest person I know. It hit me like a sucker punch. Then, the meltdown happened. I didn't see it in person, but I heard about it from Mariah, who was apparently now had someone on the inside of Derek's office. It happened on a Saturday. Derek's company was hosting a client meet and greet at Regal Cinema HQ. Big event, catered, family-friendly. Brittany showed up drunk, slurred her words, picked a fight with Derek in front of his boss, called him an ungrateful bastard who lets his ex control everything. Apparently, Derek tried to usher her away, but she threw her wine on the floor and shouted, She's trying to take everything from me. People stared. Cameras rolled. 2 days later, her socials were scrubbed. No more pictures of Evan, no more Bible quotes, just a gray circle for a profile picture. That Wednesday night, Derek called me. I almost didn't answer, but something in me said, pick up.
Hey, I said flatly. He sighed. I need to talk. About? About Evan. About everything. I said nothing. I think I made a mistake, he continued. Letting Brittany get so involved. I thought she'd be good for him, but now I see I just wanted someone to help carry the load. And she made it worse. He was quiet. Then, yeah, she did. Why are you calling me now? Because Evan asked to live with you full time. My heart stopped. I told him we'd talk about it, but I think it's the right move. He's not himself here anymore. He doesn't talk to me. He barely looks at Brittany. What changed? You changed, he said. Cliffhanger ending. A new beginning or a new battle. That Friday, Evan brought a duffel bag to my apartment. No court papers, no final ruling, just a quiet decision between mother and son. We unpacked together, hung up his hoodies, filled the fridge with Dr. Pepper, made space for his PS5 on the living room TV stand. That night, as we sat on the couch watching The Last of Us, he turned to me and said, "Do you think she's gone for good?" I looked at him, and I thought about the way Brittany had looked at me that first year, too friendly, too perfect, like someone wearing a mask she was sure would never slip. I thought about the rage under that smile, the lies, the fire in her eyes when control slipped through her fingers. And I said, no, people like that don't disappear. They reload.
She lost her grip on my son. She lost her spotless image. She lost her place at the center of his life. But people like Brittany, they don't go quietly. They twist the knife on the way out. The weeks after Evan moved in felt like coming home to myself. He was still guarded, teenagers are like that, but there was a light in his eyes again, a softness in the way he spoke to me. He helped with dishes without being asked, laughed at my corny jokes, brought up childhood memories I didn't even think he remembered. "You used to sing that ridiculous waffle song in the car," he told me one night while we were folding laundry. "Waffles are magic," I replied. "You don't argue with the classics." He smiled, really smiled. And for a moment I thought, maybe we made it. Maybe this is the calm after the storm. But storms don't just vanish. They circle back with wind and fury. The strange package. It started small. A manila envelope in the mailbox. No return address. Inside, a stack of printed screenshots. Brittany's Instagram posts, Facebook comments, a picture of Evan from 2 years ago, sleeping on a couch, mouth open, blanket half on, captioned, "My sleepy head," #boymom, #he chose me. On the back of one of the prints, scribbled in red ink, "Careful how you rewrite history. You weren't always so motherly." I stood there in the kitchen, hands trembling. No name, no explanation, just venom. Evan didn't know. Yet. I didn't show him the envelope. He was finally settling in. School was going well, his grades had improved, and he was even talking about trying out for JV baseball in the fall. I wasn't about to let Brittany claw her way back in with cheap psychological warfare. So, I did what I hadn't done in years. I hired a lawyer. Enter Ms. Green. Victoria Green, mid-50s, sharp bob, lipstick like war paint. She'd handled a few school board harassment cases before and came highly recommended through Mariah's legal network. She met me at a cafe, took one look at the envelope, and said, "She's spiraling. That's the good news." I blinked. There's good news in this? "She's clumsy," Victoria explained. "People like Brittany, they thrive on perception, but the minute that slips, they get reckless. And when they get reckless, they leave evidence." I told her everything. The restraining order, the fake nursing credentials, the meltdown at Derek's event. Victoria took notes like a machine,
didn't flinch once. Do you want full custody? I hesitated. I want Evan to choose to stay, and I want her out of our lives. She nodded. Then we play the long game, but we prepare for war. The next move. Victoria filed for an official custody modification on the grounds of instability, emotional manipulation, and potential defamation. Nothing explosive, just enough to force a legal spotlight on Brittany's behavior. We didn't serve it yet, just kept it ready. In the chamber. Then came the messages. The fake profile. Evan showed me a DM he got on Snapchat from a user named @truthmom411. The message read, "Be careful who you trust. Not all mothers are who they seem." Attached was a blurry photo of me from years ago, maybe 2015, crying in a Walgreens parking lot, hand over my mouth, clearly upset. I knew exactly when it was taken. It was the day I found out Derek had emptied our joint account without warning. I had $34 to my name. I remember sitting in my car, sobbing into a brown paper bag of discount shampoo and snacks I bought for Evan with coins from a change jar. Someone had taken a picture of that. And now, Brittany had it. Evan stared at the image for a long time. Then he looked at me. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, trying to keep it together. I was just having a hard time back then. He didn't flinch. We all do. He blocked the account. But I knew this wasn't over. The rumor campaign. The next blow came from the community. Small whispers at Publix. A PTA mom asking me if I was really Evan's biological mother or if I'd adopted him late. Someone from church, not our regular one, but the one that Brittany sometimes visited, sent me a message on Facebook. "Praying for you. Gossip is a devil's tool. Keep your chin up." Gossip. It wasn't just Brittany losing grip. It was Brittany building a narrative. And I was done playing defense. The call to Derek. I hadn't spoken to Derek directly since Evan moved in, but one night, while Evan was at a friend's house, I picked up the phone and dialed him. He sounded tired. "Hey," I said flatly. "We need to talk." He sighed. "I know. I've been meaning to reach out. You know Brittany's behind this, right?" "I have suspicions." "No, Derek. This is targeted harassment. Evan's being dragged into it. I've got a lawyer. I'm moving forward." Silence on the line. Then he said, "She left." That stopped me cold. What? She packed up and went to stay with her sister in Atlanta last week. Said she needed space to find herself. I think she knew it was crumbling. I leaned against the wall, heart racing. "You think she's really gone?" "No. But I think she's regrouping." The calm before. For about 2 weeks, things got quiet. Evan was happier, lighter. He got a part in the school play. He FaceTimed me from backstage to show me his costume, some 1940s detective trench coat and a fake cigar. "I look like a sad insurance agent," he joked. I laughed so hard I cried. He was back. My son was back. We started talking about summer plans, college road trips, maybe a vacation, just the two of us. Then Brittany reappeared. It was a Wednesday morning. I was on my way out the door for work, keys in my hand, coffee in my travel mug, when I spotted something taped to my windshield. A note, written in block letters, all caps, no signature. "The courts can't make him love you. He never did." I looked around. No car in sight, no footsteps, just that note fluttering like a warning flag. And scribbled at the bottom, in smaller handwriting I instantly recognized. "Enjoy the peace while it lasts. I'm not finished."
She was back. But this time, I wasn't afraid. Brittany vanished, then came back with venom. But what she didn't realize, I wasn't the same woman she walked over for years. This time, I had nothing left to lose, and that made me dangerous. After I found that note on my windshield, I sat in my car for 20 minutes with the engine running and my coffee gone cold in my lap. I didn't cry, didn't panic, didn't call Derek or Mariah or Victoria. I just sat there and thought, she's running out of places to hide. That's why she's lashing out. You see, Brittany thought threats made her powerful, but when someone's already taken everything from you, threats just sound like noise. I was done flinching. Later that week, Victoria called. She said, "We got a bite." Turns out, a local nurse from Brittany's previous clinic had contacted her firm anonymously, said she'd heard someone was investigating the McIntyre woman. This nurse had receipts. Brittany had been billing under another RN's license number, someone who'd moved out of state years ago. She had screenshots, payroll data, and internal emails that reeked of cover-up. It was enough to open a formal inquiry with the state board. Victoria submitted the paperwork. I didn't even have to lift a finger. And then something wild happened. Brittany posted. It was a Facebook Live, of all things. 10 minutes long, hair a mess, makeup blotchy, clearly wine drunk. In it, she sobbed about being silenced and fake mothers stealing her child and the system being weaponized by bitter women. She never mentioned my name, but she didn't have to. Everyone knew who she meant. And at minute 9, she looked dead into the camera and said, "You can't erase me. You can't replace me. And if you think I'm going to let you walk away with my son like none of this happened, you're dreaming." It was raw, unhinged, dangerous. But it was also exactly what we needed. Victoria screen captured the video, timestamped it, and filed it with our modification request. Between the anonymous nurse's evidence, Brittany's public spiral, and her consistent history of emotional instability, the judge granted full custody to me, effective immediately. Brittany's visitation was suspended indefinitely pending psychological evaluation. When I told Evan, he didn't say anything at first, just stared at the paper. Then he whispered, "So we don't have to go back?" I shook my head. "No, baby, we're home now, for good." He hugged me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt him let go. Of fear, of confusion, of whatever he'd been carrying. Brittany didn't fight the ruling, didn't appeal. The nursing board launched their own investigation. Last I heard, she was suspended and facing criminal charges for fraud. She tried texting Evan once after that. Just a sad little "miss you" with a broken heart. He blocked her. It was like once the spell broke, he saw everything clearly. I didn't gloat, didn't celebrate. Revenge doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it's just a deep, steady exhale after years of holding your breath. I used to think motherhood was about holding everything together, smiling through storms, sacrificing without complaint, being the bigger person. But I learned that sometimes being a mother means becoming the storm. It means protecting your peace like it's sacred. It means saying no more. Not this time. I had spent years shrinking myself to keep the peace. Now I take up space. Evan made the JV baseball team. He's got a new group of friends who get him. He laughs more, sleeps better. He's learning to drive. God help us both. We still have tough conversations. He's still healing, but he knows the truth now. He knows I fought for him when it wasn't easy, when no one believed me,
when even he wasn't sure what was real. As for me, I got a promotion at work, took myself on a weekend trip to Charleston, just me, a stack of books, and zero apologies. Started journaling again, seeing a therapist, rebuilding not just my life, but myself. There was a time I thought I'd lost everything. But the truth, what I lost were the things I'd never needed. The lies, the masks, the people who never really saw me. And what I found was the fire that was always inside me, waiting. So yeah, that's my story. Not the one I asked for, but the one that made me who I am. And if you're reading this, knee-deep in your own storm, wondering if you're crazy or weak or just tired, let me say this. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're a fire no one saw coming. Let them burn their bridges. You build new ones with steel. Sometimes the best revenge is reclaiming the life they tried to take from you. Have you ever had to fight for your truth or rebuild after someone tried to erase you? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you rose from the ashes. And if this one hit home, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more real stories of justice, healing, and the kind of strength they never saw coming.